What was once celebrated as the crown jewel of Inca engineering may now hold a truth far darker than anyone ever imagined. In early 2025, a team of geophysicists and archaeologists working high in the Peruvian Andes uncovered something astonishing beneath Machu Picchu, something that challenges everything we thought we knew about one of the world's most sacred sites. Using state-of-the-art ground-penetrating radar and seismic imaging, the team discovered a vast hidden structure buried deep within the mountain itself. At first, the signals looked like nothing more than irregularities in the bedrock. But as the scans were refined, patterns began to emerge. Perfect geometric outlines, chambers stacked below the city's main temple, and what appeared to be narrow tunnels extending outward toward the cliff's edge. The discovery hinted at an entire subterranean system carved into solid granite, invisible to the human eye for centuries. And yet, what made the revelation so unsettling was not its size or precision, but what it suggested, because beneath the city's foundations, the Incas may have built something they never wanted anyone to find. For decades, Machu Picchu has stood as the ultimate symbol of ancient ingenuity, a miracle of balance between nature and civilization. Resting nearly 2,130 meters above sea level, it perches like a crown on the edge of the Andes, surrounded by mist and silence. But what most visitors never realize is that the city's beauty was not just in its walls and terraces, it was in the mountain itself. The Incas called this place not just Machu Picchu, the old peak, but Huaycawilca, meaning sacred cry. According to new interpretations of oral Inca traditions, the mountain wasn't simply chosen for its strategic location. It was revered as a living being, a guardian spirit. The 2025 scans, however, now suggest the mountain may also have served as a kind of vault, its foundations hollowed out to hide something beneath the stonework that has endured for over 500 years. Experts are calling it the most significant archaeological revelation since the city's rediscovery in 1911. But with every answer uncovered, new questions rise like the morning mist over the Urubamba Valley. To understand what makes this discovery so shocking, one must first look at how Machu Picchu came to be and why it was built in the first place. Around 1450 AD, during the reign of Emperor Pachacuti, the Inca Empire was at the height of its power. Stretching across nearly the entire spine of South America, it connected deserts, jungles, and mountains through a vast network of roads and citadels. Machu Picchu was unlike any other. It was constructed on a knife-thin ridge between two peaks, Machu Picchu and Huayna Picchu, a site so remote and difficult to reach that it seemed intentionally hidden from the world. The engineering challenges alone were staggering. The Incas moved enormous granite boulders up sheer slopes with nothing but human strength, ropes, and wooden rollers. The stones were carved with such precision that even centuries later, not a single one has shifted despite countless earthquakes that have leveled modern cities nearby. Everything about Machu Picchu speaks of purpose. Careful, deliberate, sacred purpose. Its terraces cascade down the mountainside like giant steps toward the heavens. Each one is filled with rich soil imported from miles away, layered with gravel and stone for perfect drainage. The city's aqueducts still carry clear mountain water through canals and fountains that remain functional to this day. The temples are aligned to celestial events. The Temple of the Sun catches the rays of dawn precisely on the winter solstice, while the Intihuatana stone, carved from a single block, marks the equinoxes with astonishing accuracy. These alignments have long suggested that Machu Picchu was not just a city, but a cosmic observatory, a place where the Incas could communicate with their gods. But what if it was more than that? What if the heavens were only half the story, and the other half lies beneath the earth, in the chambers now being revealed by modern science? What makes this possibility so haunting is that Machu Picchu's foundations were never fully understood. Early explorers assumed the terraces and retaining walls were built purely to prevent erosion, but the new radar data tells a different story. The depth and density of the subsurface structures suggest something intentional, something constructed to withstand more than just landslides. Some of the detected shapes are too symmetrical to be natural. The largest appears to be an oval chamber nearly 30 meters below the main plaza, with narrow corridors extending like spokes of a wheel. Archaeologists are hesitant to make conclusions before excavation begins, but several experts have already drawn comparisons to other Inca ceremonial sites, where underground chambers were used for burial rituals and the safeguarding of sacred relics. Could Machu Picchu's hidden foundation have served a similar or even darker purpose? Long before this discovery, the story of Machu Picchu was already shrouded in mystery. When the Spanish conquistadors reached Peru in the early 1500s, they conquered the Inca capital of Cusco, but never found Machu Picchu. By the time they arrived, it was already abandoned. No colonial record even mentions its existence. The question of why the Incas deserted such an advanced and thriving city has haunted historians for centuries. Some argue it was a royal retreat for Pachacuti and his family, an Andean paradise where they could escape the demands of empire. Others believe it was a spiritual sanctuary, a bridge between the earthly and divine. But if that were true, why was it left so suddenly and so completely? And why does the new 2025 data show chambers sealed so deliberately, as if the builders wanted them never to be opened again? After the fall of the Inca Empire, the jungle reclaimed the site, swallowing terraces and temples in a slow green embrace. For nearly 4 centuries, vines and moss covered the stones, and only local farmers and shepherds knew of its presence. They spoke quietly of the lost city, a place where the mountain whispered at night and shadows moved among the stones. Their stories kept the legend alive until 1911, when a man named Hiram Bingham III, a historian from Yale University, set out on an expedition that would change history. Bingham wasn't searching for Machu Picchu. He was looking for something else entirely: Vilcabamba, the last refuge of the Inca kings after Cusco fell to Spanish invasion. Historical records spoke of a city hidden deep in the jungle, a stronghold from which the last Inca, Tupac Amaru Afurfers, waged a desperate resistance before his capture and execution in 1572. Bingham believed finding Vilcabamba would be the discovery of the century. What he didn't know was that fate was about to lead him somewhere far older and far more mysterious. The journey into the Andes was brutal. The mountains towered like walls of stone, the air grew thinner with every step, and the jungle resisted every attempt to move through it. The men hacked through dense vegetation, crossed rope bridges that swayed over bottomless ravines, and endured freezing rain that turned the paths to mud. Exhaustion and doubt set in quickly, but Bingham's determination never faltered. He relied heavily on local farmers who knew the terrain. One of them, a Quechua man named Melchor Arteaga, told him of ancient ruins high above the Urubamba River. Few outsiders had ever gone there. Guided by Arteaga, Bingham and his small team climbed narrow paths that clung to cliffs, at times crawling on hands and knees to avoid falling into the abyss below. Days later, on July 24, 1911, they emerged into a clearing, and what they saw defied imagination. Hidden beneath thick vegetation stood terraces of perfectly cut stone, stairways rising into the mist, and temples carved with divine precision. A city frozen in time, untouched since the days of the Inca Empire. At first, Bingham thought he had found Vilcabamba. But as he explored the site and compared it to the Spanish chronicles, he realized this was something entirely different, something the world had never seen. He named it Machu Picchu after the nearby mountain peak, and news of the discovery spread like wildfire. The world was captivated by the idea of a lost city in the clouds, a place of wonder untouched by centuries of change. Photographs of the site ignited global fascination and drew scholars, adventurers, and dreamers from every corner of the earth. Yet even then, many noticed something strange. The site's location was so remote, its access so perilous, that it almost seemed as if the Incas never wanted it to be found again. Bingham spent years studying the ruins, mapping every structure and collecting artifacts for museums abroad. But he could never fully answer the one question that haunted him: why was it built here, in this impossible place? Over time, theories multiplied. Some said it was a royal estate, others a military fortress, and still others a secret monastery for Inca priestesses. Each explanation seemed plausible, yet none could explain everything. The city's combination of astronomical precision, religious symbolism, and sheer inaccessibility defied simple answers. Now, more than a century later, the 2025 discovery beneath its foundations may finally offer one. As the new scans continue to be analyzed, scientists are beginning to suspect that Machu Picchu's location wasn't chosen only for its isolation or beauty, but for what already existed within the mountain. The rock formations beneath the site are unusually hollow in places, suggesting earlier modifications long before Pachacuti's reign. Ancient legends among the Quechua people tell of a sleeping spirit within the mountain, a power that must never be disturbed. For centuries, it was dismissed as folklore, but now, with the discovery of sealed chambers beneath the city's heart, the myth feels eerily close to truth, and that is where the mystery deepens. If the Incas built Machu Picchu not merely to celebrate their gods, but to guard something ancient and dangerous beneath the mountain, then every terrace, every temple, every stone might have been part of a much larger design, a design meant not to reveal, but to conceal. By mid-2025, Machu Picchu was no longer just an archaeological wonder. It had become the center of the world's attention once again. After months of silent research, the Peruvian Ministry of Culture finally confirmed what had been whispered among scientists for weeks. Beneath the famous city, a system of interconnected cavities and chambers existed, sealed for over half a millennium. Teams from Peru, Japan, and France joined forces, bringing in quantum-resolution radar, magnetic tomography, and seismic echo mapping, the most advanced non-invasive technology ever used on a heritage site. What they found exceeded every expectation. The first readings revealed symmetrical voids almost perfectly aligned beneath the Temple of the Sun and the Intihuatana platform. It was as though the city had been deliberately positioned above a hidden complex. And as data continued to pour in, something else appeared, a narrow spiral corridor that descended deep into the mountain, far beyond where any natural fissure should exist. The corridor seemed to end at a vast circular chamber that no one had ever known was there. Archaeologists called it Chamber Zero. From the patterns and density readings, it was clear that its walls were not naturally formed rock, but carefully shaped stone blocks, the same masterful masonry seen on the surface above. Whatever was inside had been sealed so completely that even ground-penetrating waves struggled to define its full outline. The geometry hinted at a chamber nearly 20 meters wide, positioned directly under the heart of the ancient city. Some theorized it could be a royal tomb, the final resting place of Emperor Pachacuti himself, while others believed it was a ceremonial vault used to protect sacred relics. But a growing number of experts began to suspect something else entirely. That Chamber Zero was part of a ritual mechanism, a spiritual anchor, built to connect Machu Picchu to the forces the Incas believed lived within the earth. As preparations began for careful, limited excavation, officials enforced strict secrecy around the project. Only a handful of researchers were allowed access to the live data, and all operations were done under watch of cultural preservation authorities. Yet, as happens with great discoveries, fragments of information leaked to the world. Within weeks, international headlines declared a secret below the sun temple and Inca underground network found at Machu Picchu. Rumors spread faster than the verified reports. Stories of lost relics, trapped energy fields, even suggestions of pre-Inca construction buried under the newer layers. The more scientists tried to clarify, the more the public imagination ignited. Suddenly, Machu Picchu wasn't just an ancient marvel. It was a living mystery, hiding its most important secret in plain sight. When the team finally reached the uppermost section of the subsurface tunnels through a small, natural crack near the edge of a terrace, they found the first tangible evidence. Thin stone walls lined with polished granite blocks extended horizontally through the bedrock. The air that escaped was dry and cold, undisturbed for centuries. Tiny particles of ash and plant fiber clung to the inner surfaces, hinting at ritual offerings burned long ago. Further down, fragments of obsidian and gold foil were discovered, symbols of both the underworld and the sun, used in Inca ceremonies to maintain cosmic balance. But then, the instruments picked up something even more perplexing. faint electromagnetic activity emanating from within the deeper, sealed chamber. The readings were irregular but distinct, pulsing like a slow heartbeat. At first, it was dismissed as interference from the surrounding geology, yet repeated scans produced the same result. The mountain itself seemed to be responding. The finding reignited ancient legends that locals have whispered for generations. In the Quechua tongue, there is an old phrase, "The mountain breathes." Elders claim it refers to the spirit said to dwell inside Machu Picchu, a guardian that awakens when disturbed. Of course, scientists dismiss such stories as cultural metaphor, but as the data accumulated, even seasoned researchers admitted unease. The alignment between the underground structure and the city above was mathematically exact. Every major temple and staircase corresponded perfectly to a point on the grid beneath. It was as if the Incas had designed Machu Picchu not just as a city, but as the visible half of a two-layered monument, an upper world for the living and a mirrored underworld for the divine. To understand why this duality mattered so deeply, historians turned again to Inca cosmology. The Incas divided existence into three realms: Hanan Pacha, the upper world of the gods and stars; Ke Pacha, the human world; and Uku Pacha, the underworld, home of ancestors and creation. Machu Picchu, it now seems, may have been engineered to unite all three. The temples above captured the movements of the sun and stars. Hanan Pacha, the living city of farmers, priests, and nobles, represented Ke Pacha, and the newly discovered chambers below may have been dedicated to Uku Pacha, a sacred space meant to connect the empire's power directly to the Earth's core. Such a design was not merely architectural, it was spiritual geometry, a way to ensure balance between heaven, humanity, and the hidden forces below. By late 2025, micro-drone probes were approved to enter a narrow borehole into Chamber 0. The first footage they transmitted astonished everyone watching. Inside the vast cavity, the ceiling arched like the inside of a dome, covered with crystalline mineral veins that sparkled in the drone's lights. The floor appeared to be a circular platform made of an unknown dark stone, perfectly polished, with a shallow depression in the center. Around the perimeter stood several carved pillars, each etched with serpentine patterns resembling those found in Inca iconography associated with Amaru, the mythical two-headed serpent that symbolized transformation between worlds. But the most striking feature was what lay in the center of the floor, a sealed monolithic slab, almost identical in shape to the Intihuatana stone above ground, but inverted, its angles reversed, its form mirrored. Scholars immediately grasped the implication. The builders had created a twin monument beneath the mountain, the shadow of the one under the sun. News of the mirrored Intihuatana spread quickly, fueling debate across the academic world. Was this structure a symbolic counterpoint, a way of anchoring cosmic energy between sky and earth, or something even more functional? Perhaps a mechanism for astronomical observation using sound or magnetic resonance? As scientists analyzed the data, they found that certain frequencies of vibration resonated through the entire chamber, amplifying into a low hum. The resonance corresponded exactly with the natural frequency of the mountain itself. It seemed that the Incas, without modern technology, had built a structure capable of harmonizing with the Earth's vibrations. This was not merely architecture. It was acoustical engineering on a level previously unimagined. Despite mounting excitement, officials imposed a strict halt on any further intrusion into the chamber. Cultural leaders in Cusco warned that disturbing the site could anger ancestral spirits and cause physical instability in the mountain's structure. Some members of the research team reported strange experiences during the exploration. Sudden drops in temperature, disorientation, and inexplicable echoes that seemed to answer their own voices. One geophysicist wrote in her field journal that it felt as if the mountain was aware of us. While these accounts never made it into official reports, whispers spread among local workers that the ancient guardians of Machu Picchu had awoken. Meanwhile, historians revisited the mystery of why the city was abandoned. Could it be that the Incas themselves sealed these chambers intentionally before fleeing, believing they had awakened something they couldn't control? The sudden disappearance of Machu Picchu's population, long before Spanish arrival, has always puzzled scholars. But if these underground structures played a role in forbidden rituals or the containment of a sacred force, the evacuation might have been deliberate, an act of protection rather than defeat. It would explain why there are no signs of battle or destruction, only a peaceful silence left behind. As the year drew to a close, the 2025 Machu Picchu project released a carefully worded statement. Others saw it as a message from the ancestors, reminding the modern world that the past cannot be dissected without consequence. Whether myth or coincidence, heavy rains soon struck the region, triggering minor landslides that forced the suspension of all work near the site. Many locals took it as a sign that the mountain wished to be left alone. Even as scientists prepared to resume studies in 2026, the mystery deepened further. A new round of high-frequency scans conducted from a helicopter platform detected something previously missed: narrow conduits extending from Chamber Zero toward the Urubamba River Valley. They appeared to form a network of tunnels, possibly natural caves reinforced by stone, leading outward for hundreds of meters. Some of these passages seemed to connect with smaller voids beneath the terraces, suggesting a complex drainage or acoustic system. Others, however, vanished abruptly into the darkness of uncharted rock. When modeled digitally, the tunnels traced a pattern unmistakably similar to the constellation of the Pleiades, a star cluster the Incas revered as the home of their ancestors. Was this coincidence, or a deliberate celestial map carved beneath the mountain? The alignment was too precise to dismiss. Every revelation raised new questions. Who designed such precision, and for what purpose? If the Incas indeed harnessed sound, water, and magnetism within these chambers, could they have used them for communication with the heavens, or to preserve something deep within the earth? Some theorists propose that Machu Picchu functioned as a massive energy stabilizer, a geospatial balance point for the Andes' tectonic forces. Others insisted it was a sanctuary built to contain relics from a civilization even older than the Incas themselves. But the truth, as always, remains buried, sealed beneath layers of stone and silence. As the sun sets over the ridge, casting long shadows across the ancient terraces, Machu Picchu stands as it always has, serene, magnificent, and unreadable. The jungle hums softly, and mist coils around the temples like breath. Tourists gaze in awe, unaware of what lies just below their feet. Deep inside the mountain, the sealed chamber rests undisturbed, its mirrored stone waiting in darkness. The instruments on the surface still register faint rhythmic pulses from below, too steady to be geological noise, too deliberate to ignore. Whether it is the echo of hidden water, magnetic resonance, or something far older that the Incas once worshipped, no one can yet say. For now, the government has ordered that Chamber Zero remain sealed until further studies can ensure its safety. But those who have seen the images and data cannot forget what they found. Something beneath Machu Picchu still moves, slowly, silently, as if breathing with the mountain itself. And as experts debate, legends stir once more, whispering that the old peak has only begun to reveal its true face. Whatever lies beneath may not be waiting to be discovered. It may be waiting to wake.